When I was 10 years old, I found out that I was an end-stage heart failure and I needed a heart transplant in order to survive. When I was a kid, I could never participate in sports like my friends had because I was always tired, but we always attributed it to my asthma. When they got a chest x-ray and the doctor said that I had an enlarged heart, we never heard that there was anything wrong with my heart before. It was always asthma. So from one day to the next, oh, she has a bad heart. It was shocking to us. I was in 5th grade and I remember vividly. I waited for my heart. I spent Christmas, New Year's Eve, even Valentine's Day in the hospital as a child. My hospital room became my home. I got my heart transplant in January of 2004. I remember I looked in the mirror after my heart transplant and I noticed that my cheeks were rosy. And I know that sounds silly, but I never had rosy cheeks before. So for me, that was huge. I was successful after my heart transplant for about 9 years. And unfortunately, due to all the immunosuppressive drugs that I take on a daily basis, I was diagnosed with almost stage 3 Hodgkin-like lymphoma. I had to undergo about 6 to 7 months of chemotherapy. A little different than a heart transplant, you look sick when you have cancer. That also was a life changer for me. So after that year in 2013, I ended up beating cancer, and I'm now 5 years in remission for my cancer and 15 years post-heart transplant. I had the pleasure of reconnecting with my surgeon that performed my heart transplant 15 years ago.
Shelby Caban was in elementary school when doctors told her she would need a heart transplant to survive. Now, 15 years later, she's reunited with the surgeon who saved her life.
Hello. How are you?
Seeing him again and just being able to hug him, it was incredible.
And as for Shelby, she just graduated this month with her master's degree. Wow. She says she hopes to get a job in the field of cardiothoracic surgery as a physician assistant to help surgeons who are operating on the hearts of young children.
Oh, well, they're beautiful. Really. The doctor and the young patient.
Warms your heart, literally, right?
Months after surgery, Shelby invited Dr. Chen to a pool party for her 5th grade graduation.
There are some kids who have this sort of independent spirit, and I mean, Shelby was gonna wear a bikini 6 months later, that's just the way it was gonna be.
My whole life has changed. I'm a different person because of having received my heart, and not just a healthier person, but I think it really shaped the woman that I became because I got this new heart. And I'm sorry. I just like the fact that this family was able to donate their daughter's organs after a tragic accident. Knowing that I received her heart, it's a blessing. Good girlie! The responsibility I feel with having someone else's heart is I want to make them proud, or I want to do everything that I possibly could have done to make the little girl proud. Make her feel like maybe she's living on within me and she's able to live the life that she unfortunately couldn't live. I try to always pay it forward, always help others and just be a kind soul. I just want to live the happiest life that I possibly could and take care of myself. That's the most important thing because I have someone else's heart inside of me.
Life is 5% what happens to you and 95% how you react to it. I was born with a liver disease called biliary atresia, and I ended up having 3 liver transplants by my 2nd birthday. I had my first transplant at 9 months old, and it just kept going into rejection. My last transplant actually went into humoral rejection, where you reject all the organs in your body, and they never had anybody survive that before. So I had 3 liver transplants as a baby, and 2 months after I graduated high school, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia and got chemotherapy every week for 25 months. It destroyed my joints and my teeth, so I now have hip replacement, a knee replacement, and dentures.
Make some noise for Jack Cloonan.
After all this, one of the things I do now is I'm a stand-up comedian because I like to joke about some of my illnesses and things I've been through as comedy because, you use what you know to write jokes. So
I was driving my car the other day and I was thinking, as a transplant patient, with part of somebody else already inside me, shouldn't I be allowed to drive in the HOV lane?
Aside from comedy, I'm now an EMT. I always felt that I've been through too much in the hospital as a patient to not try and use some of it to help other people. Where is she? Keep in mind when somebody's calling 911, even if we get some call for toothaches and tummy aches, but if it's bad enough for them to call 911, it's an emergency to them. So, it feels good to make a difference. I think about my donors every day. Honestly, I try to make them proud every day. I want them to have been like, oh, I'm glad he got my liver. Like, I'm glad that was the guy. I'm very superstitious, but it's the healthiest I've ever been right now, so I woke up today, I'm not in the hospital. That's cool. The mindset is everything. Honestly, it just makes me appreciate everything more. I'm still here. I hear a lot of people complain all the time about the stupidest thing. Just in general, you walk down the street like, oh, the weather sucks, this sucks, the Mets suck, whatever. Honestly, if you just appreciate the fact that, you woke up, you're still breathing, walking, talking, it's a good way to start the day.
My journey with transplantation began when I was 13 years old. My brother actually had open heart surgery when he was 2 years old. I was his healthy older sister. I played all different sports you could imagine, basketball, softball. I was a competitive baton twirler. I was even on the girls' lacrosse team in Hicksville Middle School. And one day that all changed. I started to have these really severe stomach pains. I was going to different emergency rooms even. At this point, they had gone in and they did exploratory surgery in my abdominal region, and at that point, I had gone into cardiac arrest at the table. They told my parents, your daughter's dying of heart failure, please come say goodbye now. They got a family friend who was a priest to come give me my last rites. All I remember is when I got there, I had a bunch of doctors surrounding me, and they told me, you're gonna need a heart transplant. I didn't even know what a heart transplant was. So for me, I would not be able to walk even a few feet without getting out of breath because my heart was so enlarged at this point. Finally, after 3 months and a day, my parents got the call and they said, we have a heart for your daughter. And on July 6, 1996, a young boy named Matthew became my guardian angel. I was able to have a second chance to be able to grow up. They even told my parents that I might not make it to my 18th birthday, or my 25th birthday, or my 30th birthday, and I'm 36 now. I was also able to finally reconnect with my donor mom after a very long time after my transplant. After 18 years, I was able to see her. The first thing she did when I met her was place her head against my chest and say, that's my boy.
It's my boy.
Not only is this my heart, but it's Matthew's heart as well. She got to listen to her son's heartbeat again and see where his heart had gone, and I got to say thank you. It really is just life after tragedy, and that's really one of the greatest things that can be for anybody.
We're in the Rose Garden right in the center of Long Island in Eisenhower Park.
The Rose Garden was a place that we identified back in 1991 to recognize those that gave the gift of life, and we have a ceremony every September right on these grounds.
On behalf of Long Island Transplant Recipients International Organization and Live on New York, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Rose Garden rededication ceremony.
The Rose Garden is a very important part of Long Island Trio because it's really to honor the donors. And without the donors, none of the recipients would be here.
This is our most touching event that we have. It's all about love.
Every rose to me signifies life, and it really is a beautiful, peaceful place that you could just go to, and when you're there, you kind of have a serene feeling that surrounds you. Long Island Trio has been a part of my life since I was 13.
We embrace donor families, healthcare professionals, anybody that's a friend of transplantation.
Each person in Long Island Trio has a remarkable story.
25 years ago, my father, who is up here with me, gave me one of his kidneys.
They have come from the depths of despair, and here they are today, not only alive, but they're flourishing.
50 years ago, I thought I had a miracle. When you play for the Mets and you lose 700 games for 7 years and then you win a World Series, you know that's a miracle.
Once you've received the gift of life, like I have, there is something that you want to give back.
So we go into schools and we educate students on the organ donation.
I speak at high schools throughout Long Island with Long Island Trio.
Education is very important. People are afraid of donation. People ask questions like you wouldn't believe.
They have all these myths in their minds, and the fact that I'm able to teach them and show them, oh no, like really this is how it's actually done.
It's an unbelievable feeling because now you know you've changed somebody's life.
It's a never-ending project because, unfortunately, we lose people every day because there's not enough organs.
The numbers for New York are horrific compared to any other state for registered organ donors.
You don't need your organs when they put you underground. There's no sense in cremating them.
I like when I say, who here is an organ donor? Like, nobody raises a hand. Like, who would take an organ if we needed one? Everybody raises a hand. I'm like, all right, do you see the problem here?
To me, Long Island Trio's mission is one of the most fundamental things that we as a civilization can do. Organ donation involves life or death. You are keeping people alive.
It's all about having a reverence for life and knowing that we can make a difference.
I'd just like to say, if you haven't already, sign up to be an organ donor. That's pretty much how I'd end it.